$100,000.
And it's just really difficult to understand kind of why higher level education is working in that case, but there's also a lack of apprenticeship and a lack of kind of further education opportunities beyond degrees. And so where do we go? What do we do? And there isn't that guidance out there.
Alan, I mean, do you think it's worth young people going to university, getting into debt, if they're not able to get jobs in sectors like yours when they come out?
Well, look, I would never discourage anybody from being ambitious, but that doesn't just need to mean university. We've just launched a 5-year apprenticeship that takes people up to a master's level in hospitality. There are other routes into substantial careers, but really for those routes to be meaningful, for jobs in hospitality to be meaningful, they do have to be available. And we are just in a situation where so many people like you are looking around for that first job that can lead to a meaningful career. It isn't there. The interesting thing is hospitality is the single largest provider, of not just jobs for school leavers, but routes into management and training for school leavers.
Right, I mean, now how affected are you by AI? I mean, people assume that hospitality is slightly insulated
Well, to some
from
degree,
technology.
Is that true? It's a good news, right? So there are absolutely sectors like banking, like insurance, like law, where the number of graduates being hired is really reduced, and that affects people in your position really severely. Hospitality is one of the few sectors which, if you take a 20, 30-year time horizon, is still going to be hiring kids at the start of their careers and keeping them throughout.
And do you think people understand that there are also career pathways in hospitality?
I hope so. I think we're a little less good at this in the UK than we are in other countries where perhaps hospitality is held in a bit more esteem. But that's our job to fix. I really hope that young people like you coming out of school, coming out of university, see us as a route to a really impactful career.
I mean, do your contemporaries think of hospitality as a career, or is it just bar work?
See, unfortunately, I'd probably say they don't, which is where there's a real lack. I think there's still this push for really conventional, like high-level education, high-skilled jobs, and I think there's still the perception maybe that the service industry jobs aren't that. And I think it's a big misconception that needs to be fixed, because it's also young people understanding the paths and the sheer breadth of opportunities that are open to them. And I don't think universities or, say, sixth forms and high schools necessarily do a good enough opportunity at spotlighting that.
Well, good luck, Emma. Thank you very much indeed. For more on the problems in the employment market and whether AI is going to take the jobs of graduates, white-collar workers, or movie megastars, I've been talking to Javier Ibrahimi and Andrea Miotti from Control AI, which is a campaign group warning about the dangerous future of AI, in the latest episode of The Forecast. You can watch it on our YouTube channel, it's on Spotify, the Channel 4 website, and wherever you get your podcasts. Nigel Farage has begun shaping the team that he says would make up his cabinet if Reform UK win the general election. After years of accusations that he's been running a one-man band, he has given specific roles to 4 senior members of his party. 2 of the biggest jobs went to Tory defectors, Robert Jenrick getting responsibility for Treasury policy, whilst 2 other Braverman has the education brief. Our political editor, Gary Gibbon, reports.
Nigel Farage unveiling the new collegiate phase of his leadership. A game show set to launch a new era of teamwork.
Good morning, everybody. The time has come to broaden the party. Shadow Chancellor is Robert Jenrick.
Suella! 2 of the 4 top spokespeople unveiled were in the Tory party until very recently. Nigel Farage was asked to fast-track promotion of recent defectors, angered some long-standing reform supporters.
Any internal upset, not that's yet been made known to me. And if there is, tough. Right, thank you.
They laughed at that slapdown, but they get their own from a man who says he wants to share out leadership decisions, but never truly has. You said this was a one-man band until very recently. Is there a reason for that? Have you ever run anything that wasn't a one-man band? And do people really change?
I think I've been rather successful, don't you? Tell me anybody else in modern day politics that set up political parties. I am a political entrepreneur. I do things that nobody else could do.
Nigel Farage poured bile on his newly promoted defectors' old party. But some 2 decades ago, he walked up this drive in Surrey to talk at the home of a Conservative county councillor to a then Tory MP about getting himself a safe Tory seat.
So that's autumn 2004, and
Yeah.
he sits here,
He does. He sits there.
you're there,
Yep.
and you're
And
there,
I'm here. Yeah.
and how does the conversation go?
So I said to him, look, what do you want? And then a deep intake of breath, and he said, I want to be nominated for a solid Conservative seat in Kent. Can you fix it?
I mean, I recall that there was a specific seat up for selection at Tunbridge Wells.
So Nigel Farage's memory of all of this is that a Tory Knight of the Shires, I think he means you,
I think he does too.
approached him
Yes.
on behalf of Michael Howard, the then Tory leader, because you wanted Nigel Farage as an asset, neutralising UKIP on the right of the Tory party.
And all of that is a figment of his imagination.
He says you approached him.
That is a lie.
We put those claims to Nigel Farage.
Hang on, they offered me a safe
That's not
seat.
their memory.
Well, they offered me a safe seat, which I didn't take.
They suggested you came sniffing.
They are dishonest. If they're saying that, that sums them up. Dishonest to their back teeth. I was approached by a Knight of the Shires to meet confidentially and offered Tunbridge Wells. And they said, you have it on a plate, you'll be the MP there for as long as you want.
And you said,
And I said no. They are
He did not like
Completely
that.
and utterly untrue. Complete opposite of what happened. I had to be asked to come and meet him. I didn't ask him. I don't like him. I don't trust him.
Back at his lavish press event, as he rolled out the red carpet for some Tory defectors, Nigel Farage said that's nearly it on Conservatives who want to poach.
I'll answer that honestly. There are very, very few, hardly any, other people left in the front lines of this Conservative Party that we would even be vaguely interested in.
Nigel Farage warned any disloyalty in his party would not be tolerated. One Tory who served in cabinet with Reform's new acquisitions said from now on, Nigel Farage would be wise to sleep with one eye open.
Now, a statutory inquiry will open next week into Valdo Calacane, who killed 3 people and left 3 others seriously injured in a brutal attack in Nottingham in June 2023. It will focus on systemic failures of mental health and police services in Nottingham. But while much attention is focused on the deadly events of that night, this programme can reveal there were 23 similar attacks by severely mentally ill people on complete strangers across the UK in the year before, and a similar number since. Our health and social care editor, Victoria MacDonald, has this special report.
It was a violent and random attack in June 2023 that killed Barnaby Weather, Grace O'Malley Kumar, and Ian Coates. 3 others were left with life-changing injuries.
People say it's every parent's worst nightmare, but it's not. It's every parent's worst reality.
Their killer, Valdo Calacane, suffered from paranoid schizophrenia and was known to Nottingham mental health services.
He murdered 3 people in cold blood, brutally, violently. He tried to murder 3 more, and had he not been stopped, it would have been more and more.
Calacane was found guilty of manslaughter on the grounds of diminished responsibility, and next week an inquiry will open. An inquiry the victims' families have fought for.
What makes you think that an inquiry will make a difference? Difference here, from how we see it, is that it's statutory. So people, organisations, individuals are compelled to attend, whether they've chosen to take early retirement or not. They have to be there, and you've got this shot to get all of the truth and to get it out there.
But it will also shine a spotlight on services long underfunded and under pressure.
Statistically speaking, a person with a mental health problem is more likely to harm themselves or a member of their own family, which of course is no consolation to those who have been killed or harmed by a complete stranger. But what the Calacane inquiry will have to do is look at what went wrong with the system. What lessons can be learned, not for Nottingham, but across the country?
And while the media spotlight focused on Callaghan, Channel 4 News analysis found 23 people were also killed by severely mentally ill strangers in similar circumstances in the year preceding the Nottingham stabbings, and at least as many have been killed since. 74-year-old Roger Ledbetter was fatally stabbed as he walked his dog in a Sheffield park just 2 months after Callaghan's attacks.
What did you think when you heard what had happened?
I just think you think it's somebody, it can't be, because you know, why would somebody want to hurt Roger? He wouldn't have hurt anybody. Such a shocking. Just feel like you're living now. I feel like I'm watching somebody else's story.
His killer, Emma Borrowy, diagnosed with paranoid schizophrenia, had absconded 9 times from psychiatric units. She told police and psychiatrists she'd been tricked into murdering Mr. Ledbetter by the devil. She later killed herself.
So when she'd absconded, what the police did, they just took her back and didn't communicate anything to staff. So even 3 days before she murdered Roger, she was found on this very field. Her friend phoned and said she's scaring her, she's talking about murdering people. When she was taken back, none of that was told to NHS by either police force.
Greater Manchester Police and Greater Manchester Mental Health NHS Foundation Trust have both subsequently apologised to the family.
You have those two cases so close together, don't you? You have Callaghan, then you have your poor uncle.
All those feelings, the risk assessments weren't done properly. You could just change people's names and it is the same thing. And you know, they're always saying lessons are going to be learned, and they never are.
Reports into Callaghan found he often didn't take his medication. He could have been given long-lasting depot injections, but staff didn't use their powers to enforce this. And 9 months before the killings, he was discharged from mental health services to his GP due to a lack of engagement. Nottinghamshire Healthcare Trust apologised after a report concluded the risk he posed to the public was not managed well and opportunities to mitigate risk were missed.
It's a long-term service with continuity, so we can build sort of therapeutic relationships.
Dr. Nuan Disanyanka is taking us to see a patient on an assertive outreach programme. This is an intensive community service for those who are seriously mentally ill and may disengage, like Callaghan. Except it turns out he wasn't on one. All mental health trusts are meant to have these programmes, but it's thought only a third now exist, victims of funding pressures.
We support people who have psychotic illnesses. By psychosis, I mean people who have experiences that are, they have a break from reality. They have a mistrust of services, they don't take their medication, they end up being admitted to hospital repeatedly, and sometimes when they're ill they pose significant risks as well.
Indeed, Channel 4 News has learned that in the aftermath of Callaghan's attacks, NHS England ordered an immediate review of assertive outreach programmes. It is vital, the document says, that DNAs did not attend and never used as a reason for discharge from care for this vulnerable patient.
I'm coming tomorrow.
Why?
Hi, Christian, is this?
Because that's when they're
Christian
coming.
Rosado has bipolar disorder and has had psychotic episodes.
Nice to see you again. It's been such a long time.
Hello, I'm Victoria. He was sectioned repeatedly, but has now been kept out of hospital for 7 years.
It has happened in the past that I keep communication better. Oh,
Yeah, finish it.
Huh?
Finish it. One.
They're not funny, bro.
How many times did that happen?
I would say 2 or 3 times.
What value do you importantly?
Essential. It's life. Without them, probably I wouldn't have made it. Maybe without a problem. Especially that I have a normal life. Not normal, within the boundaries of bipolar. But they helped me when I came out of hospital with the cleaning, with social, with the bills, with taking me to appointments.
It is intensive, but evidence shows it pays for itself by keeping people safer and out of hospital. And the inquiry will explore why Calicain wasn't supported by this sort of service, but what the inquiry can't possibly adequately reflect is the impact on those left behind.
Now, Channel 4 News understands that a second individual has contacted the Cabinet Office to warn against the appointment of Dame Antonia Romeo as the new Cabinet Secretary. And despite a statement which the government gave us last week from the then head of HR, but none of the people coming forward now raised concerns with them at the time of an investigation into her behaviour, we've seen new evidence that apparently contradicts this. Andrew Mishra is in the newsroom.
So last Wednesday, Dame Antonia Romeo's former boss of the Foreign Office, Simon McDonald, came on this programme and warned Number 10 about appointing her to the top job in the civil service. That warning centres on a 2017 Foreign Office investigation into allegations of bullying against Dame Antonia, who's currently sharing the Cabinet Secretary job after Chris Warble stepped down last week, and she is tipped to be front-runner for the role permanently. The Cabinet Office and Number 10 have repeatedly stated the investigation was dismissed with no case to answer. On Friday, though, Channel 4 News broadcast allegations from 3 sources that, in fact, the Foreign Office concluded there was a case to answer, and when the matter was referred to the Cabinet Office, they, quote, buried it. The Cabinet Office calls those claims categorically untrue. The woman whose original complaint triggered the investigation has now told us there were actually 10 people, 7 of them women in total, who complained about Dame Antonia. We've heard from the Cabinet Office again tonight, who say, as we have repeatedly said, one formal complaint was raised 9 years ago, which was thoroughly investigated. The allegations were dismissed on the basis that there was no case to answer. Now, the head of HR for the government at the time was Rupert McNeill. On Friday, he told Channel 4 News that the former officials making these remarks were never made to him at the time. But emails from 2017 provided to us show one senior official writing, I've reflected on this outcome over the weekend. I will be taking up Rupert's offer of a follow-up discussion. I cannot understand how Cabinet Office have come to this conclusion, given the evidence/information that I have seen. Another senior official replies, I share your sense of frustration and concern. I am speaking again to Rupert McNeill next week. I'm keen to continue to show evidence of the impact of all this. And we've been told directly from a third official that they also raised their concerns about the outcome of the case with Rupert McNeill. Rupert McNeill has provided a further statement on this, saying, I have no recollection of anyone speaking to me after the decision, so I'd be interested to speak to whoever claims to have done so. This was a professionally run process informed by the facts. It runs against basic principles of natural justice and fair process for anonymous sources to brief in this way. It also runs against the statutory civil service value of integrity. Now look, this might all sound very complicated, but in reality, it comes down to the simple issue of whether the Cabinet Office is telling the truth, whether an investigation was covered up, and who gets the civil service's top job.
Andrew Mishra. Now, Iran's foreign minister says a new window has opened for reaching a deal with the US after their latest round of indirect talks in Geneva. Less positive was Iran's president, who declared that Iran would never abandon its peaceful nuclear program. But for many Iranians, it's been a day of mourning for the thousands of people killed 40 days ago on the bloodiest day of the regime's crackdown on protests. Our foreign affairs correspondent, Secunda Kamali, reports.
Even in death, there's defiance. This flower, torn apart, has become a gift to the homeland, they chant. Across Iran, families of the thousands of protesters killed by security forces have been honouring their memories 40 days after the bloodiest crackdown began. Many use the rituals normally associated with weddings to celebrate the youth and vitality of those they're mourning. We will never forget your courage and your love, this woman says of her uncle. May your name be eternal and your path be followed by many. In the western city of Abadan, Crowds were dispersed with tear gas. But despite the regime's brutality, some still dare to voice their opposition. Here, a crowd chants, "Long live the Shah." A world away in Geneva, there were anti-regime protests too, as Iranian and US officials held a second round of indirect talks centered on the country's nuclear program. The Iranian foreign minister this afternoon sounded confident.
We are hopeful that negotiation will lead to a sustainable and negotiated solution which can serve the interests of relevant parties and the broader region.
But alongside the diplomacy, the threat of war. Iran's Revolutionary Guard conducting